Every summer it's the same fight. The flies find the kitchen, the trash can, the back porch. And no matter how many you swat, more keep coming. Here's what almost nobody tells you. Most fly traps have one flaw that can make it worse. Put them in the wrong place, and they pull even more flies toward your house. So this is the honest version. Which trap works for which kind of fly, the one placement mistake that backfires, and the real reason the flies keep coming back long after the trap is full. Number 3 is the fix that costs almost nothing and doesn't stink. Let's get into it. Start with the one thing that decides everything. Flies follow their nose. A fly can smell rotting food, grease, and waste from a surprising distance, and in summer heat, it can go from egg to adult in about a week. So a small problem becomes a swarm fast. Those eggs get laid in anything moist and rotting. A forgotten bin, a compost pile, a bag of trash in the summer sun, and they hatch in a day or two. That's the key. A trap only catches the flies already here. If the food source stays, new ones keep hatching. So think in 2 layers. Knock down the flies you have with the right trap and cut off what's drawing them in. Do only the first, and you'll be refilling traps all summer. And one safety note up front. Any bait or powder goes where children, pets, and food surfaces can't reach it. First, the common housefly, the big ones on the windowsill. 2 things work, and placement is everything. Inside, a simple fly bait station. A small dish of fly bait set high, out of reach, pulls them off your walls. You can buy ready-made fly bait or do it the old farm way. A crumb of cornbread or a spoon of sugar water on a dish works as the draw. Set 2 or 3 small ones where the flies gather, above the trash by a sunny window, and refresh them when they dry out. But here's the catch a technician will tell you. Fly bait is an attractant, so never set it by a door or window you open. Put it near the mess, away from where you walk. Outside, the workhorse is a 5-gallon bucket trap. A lidded bucket with a few holes near the top, baited with something smelly, set at the far edge of the yard, near the barn, the bins, the compost, never by the back door. Bait it with something flies can't resist. A few scraps of meat or fish gone off, or sugar water with a spoon of yeast, and the smell does the pulling. The holes let them in, the lid keeps the rain out. The whole point is to pull flies away from the house, not toward it. A bucket like that runs all day, all summer for the price of the bait. And old farms kept one downwind of the barn for exactly this reason. Second, the tiny ones, fruit flies and gnats around the bananas in the sink. These aren't the same fly, and they need a different trap. Take a jar or a cut plastic bottle, pour in a little apple cider vinegar, a pinch of sugar, and a few drops of dish soap, and set it by the fruit bowl. The vinegar smells like fermenting fruit, so the gnats dive in. The dish soap breaks the water's surface tension so they sink instead of floating back out. That soap is the finisher, not the bait. If the vinegar smell bothers you, swap in a spoon of active yeast and warm sugar water. It works the same way with far less odor. And if the gnats swarm the sink, the real nest is the drain. Pour boiling water and a little dish soap down it, because that's where the larvae live. A trap on the counter will never fix a drain. And know your tiny fly. A fruit fly hovers over fruit, but a drain fly is fuzzy and creeps up from the sink. Clean the drain gunk, and it's gone. If you'd rather not cut a bottle, a mason jar with plastic wrap over the top and a few pinholes poked in works just as well. They crawl in and can't find the way out. Either one starts catching within hours, and by the next morning, the problem is mostly gone. Now the mistakes that keep the flies coming. 1. Placing the trap or bait in the wrong spot. Set it right by the door and you've built a welcome mat. That attractant pulls flies from the neighbor's yard straight to your entrance. Traps and bait belong away from where people go in and out. 2. Trapping without cleaning. If the trash, the pet waste, the rotting fruit, or the dirty recycling stays, new flies hatch faster than any trap can catch them. The trap is the cure, The cleanup is the prevention. 3. The old milk jug of water hung by the door. You'll still see it claim to scare flies off with reflections, but it's a myth. There's no good evidence it does anything, and it just leaves stagnant water sitting there. Skip it and spend the 10 minutes on a real trap and a clean bin instead. And 2 more that waste money. The electric zapper, which mostly kills harmless bugs and barely dents flies, and reaching for chemical spray in the kitchen. It fills the room with fumes near your food and still does nothing about the eggs breeding in the bin. 1 more. A forgotten trap left full for weeks turns into its own little breeding site, so empty it and reset it. So here's how a calm, fly-free summer actually holds. Cut the source. Keep a tight lid on every trash and compost bin, rinse the recycling, take kitchen scraps out daily in the heat, and clean up after pets in the yard. Then seal the door. A decent screen and a sweep under the door stops most of them at the threshold. Old farmhouses swore by tight screens for a reason. Check the mesh has no tears, and remember a fine screen catches the little gnats a coarse one lets straight through. In the kitchen, the quiet fix is the fridge. Ripe fruit left on the counter is a fruit fly nursery, so once it turns soft, cool it or eat it. For the traps themselves, beat the stink. Line that bucket with a bag so you can lift the whole mess out and toss it, and use the yeast trap indoors instead of vinegar. And keep every bait and trap where kids, pets, and food can't reach. Up high, out of the way, labeled if you share the house. Do those together, and the flies don't stand a chance. No fumes, no expensive sprays, just a clean kitchen and 1 well-placed trap. So, in one breath, flies follow the smell, so a trap only works if you also cut the source. Match the trap to the fly. Bait stations and a far-off bucket for houseflies, a vinegar or yeast jar for the little ones. Keep it all away from the doors and away from the kids, and clean the bin that's really feeding them. Skip the myths, and you'll spend a few dollars instead of a season's worth on sprays that never last. Tell us in the comments, what's the worst fly problem you've ever had? And what did you try that didn't work? We read every one. The full list is pinned below so you can save it. If you like the old, honest way of running a home, this almanac of forgotten tricks has plenty more. Spend less. Live more. The Thrifty Almanac.